Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at the Utsav YouTube channel. This video is a tribute to the 10th Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, on the auspicious occasion of his birth anniversary or Parkash Parv. Today we have been joined by Malminderjit Singh from Singapore. He will be helping us trying to understand Guruji's life, his sacrifices, and how that has inspired millions of people from across the world in 10 simple points.
Hi to all the audience to Utsav channel. I am Malminder from Singapore, so I work with the Sikh community in Singapore as a volunteer in a number of areas. Professionally, I'm a communications consultant and a former journalist. But thanks for inviting me to share some thoughts on Guru Gobind Singh Ji's life. Of course, there's so much to share that even one segment like this is incomplete. And I will try my best though, and whatever little I understand, I'll try and share, and hope that can inspire and inform some of your audiences on some of the aspects of Guru Gobind Singh Ji's life. So first and foremost is the respect for all religions. We see everyone saying that they respect other religions and everyone is inclusive and that they stand for multi-racial, multi-religious harmony. But centuries ago, Guru Gobind Singh Ji showed that it wasn't just lip service, that he actually represented it through his actions. And there's so much to learn from that aspect. So let me just give you two examples how that was done. So when Guruji was just a tender young boy, age of 7 or 8 years old, their father, our ninth Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib, was visited at Anandapur Sahib by a group of Pandits who were there to seek Guruji's shelter and help. And because they were worried that they would be forcibly converted by the Mughal Empire. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib, upon the prompting of Guru Gobind Singh Ji as well, then as everyone knows the history, then went on to defend the right of religious freedom of the Hindu faith, and in the process, allowed himself to be for his head to be removed by the Mughal rulers of that day. So that was one example. Years later, when Guru Gobind Singh Ji himself was a father already of 4 sons, the Char Sahibzade as we know them. They were then also in Anandapur Sahib, and they were then told by the Mughal emperor as well, Aurangzeb, that they should leave Anandapur Sahib, and should they leave Anandapur Sahib peacefully with the Khalsa forces, that they wouldn't be harmed in any way. And Aurangzeb, to convince Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Aurangzeb took an oath on the Holy Quran for that to happen. So even though Guru Gobind Singh Ji, knew that there was treachery involved in this, that there's dishonesty, but because Aurangzeb had taken an oath on the Holy Quran to respect, the Holy Quran and to respect another faith, he left with his family and the Khalsa family out of Anandapur Sahib, only to be attacked. And then, as we know the history, the rest of the week we saw great sacrifice by Guru Gobind Singh Ji, sacrificing his mother, his 4 sons, and many other Sikhs, all because he respected the oath taken by Aurangzeb on the Holy Quran. So that's one, respect for all religions, right? And he showed that through his actions, even sacrificing his family. Second is the equality of mankind, and I think this is very important because and in that historical context, during that time in the 17th century, there was a lot of inequality in India, whether it was of socio-economic status or caste and creed. And Guruji was very keen in eradicating that and showing the equality of all mankind. So one of the things they did by doing so is to, of course, create the Khalsa. And it is in the Vaisakhi day of April 1699 when they created the Khalsa through the Amrit Sanchar ceremony. and in doing so, then ensured that all who took the Amrit were now equal. Men were known as Singhs, women were known as Kaurs, and regardless of whatever economic background you came from, or whatever caste or creed you came from, in Guruji's eyes and in the eyes of the Khalsa, you were now one and equal. So I think that was very important in that day and age to have created that platform and that mechanism to bring people together and to ensure that there was equality of mankind. And thirdly, it's the voicing out of against injustice and tyranny, and not just voicing out, but I would say action against injustice and tyranny, and not just to the Sikhs but to anyone. Right. So one of the things that Guruji did when creating the Khalsa at the Amrit Sanchar was to give 5 kakars. One of the kakars being the Karpan, and the Karpan was really the purpose of the Karpan giving out to the Khalsa Sikhs was really to ensure that if there was injustice or oppression or tyranny done, then if need be, they should use the Karpan to fight against that injustice and tyranny. And not just that, there was other examples as well. For instance, in Nandapur Sahib as well, Guruji was one day visited by a Hindu Brahmin family whose daughter had been abducted by the Mughal Empire, the Mughal forces, and the family then came to Guruji for help and for protection. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji then sent his elder son, Malminderjit Singh Ji, to help and to fight against the Mughal forces to bring the daughter back home. So whoever came to Guruji, whoever Guruji knew was there was injustice and tyranny done against, they would ensure that justice and equality and fairness was meted out. Fourth is love and kindness, and for Guruji, love and kindness was the essence of all religion, and it was important because it was not just about how you appeared, whether you appeared religious or whether you showed people you're religious, but your intent, your as they say, your niyat, right? Your niyat, your intent has to be important. And Guruji talks a lot about this in Savaiye as well, one in the path in the Daily Nityam. About the importance of intent and love in religion and spirituality. So, and Guruji has written a lot about this as well in other of his writings, where they talk a lot about the importance of love towards spirituality and towards God. So I think that's very important to talk about. The other one is the importance of service or seva as we know it. And there's a very famous story of Sakhi where Bhai Nandalalji Goya, who was one of the most accomplished poets of that time, certainly who then came to Nandapur Sahib to join Guruji's Sangat, and also then became a very important sevadar in Guruji's court, one of the 52 poets that Guruji kept. But it was very important. So when Bhai Nandalalji, who was a Hindu, came to Nandapur Sahib to meet Guruji and wanting to join his Sangat, was already an accomplished poet that had already written quite a bit of work and was a well-known teacher in the Mughal court. In fact, he was a teacher to Bahadur Shah, Aurangzeb's son. And when he came to see Guruji, Guruji immediately assigned him to work in the langar hall, in the langar kitchen, as a sevadar to serve langar. And I think that's a very important lesson to be learned here, to understand that how important seva was to Guruji. That no matter how accomplished you are, wherever you came from, you could be the best poet, the best entrepreneur, the best whoever you are in your daily life, but seva is an important means and ways in which to bring humility, to also condition you to spirituality, and also to that is the accomplishment that the Almighty looks at, how you contribute back. So the importance of seva was something that Guruji, just like all the other Gurujis, always emphasized on. Then sixth, I would like to talk about humility. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji was well known for their humility. So, for instance, in the Amrit Sanchar ceremony, I don't think history has ever shown this, where any guru has not only given Amrit, but then in return taken Amrit from those Panch Pyare who they gave Amrit to, right? So Guruji famously says, that they first gave Amrit to the 5 Panch Pyare in April 1699, and then took Amrit and then became, and it's written that's Ape Gurchela, right? And Guruji then also talks about it in one of his writings, where he says that he came to this world, Meho Param Purak Kodasa, and calls himself as a Das, the Das of the Param Purak, Das of the Almighty. So that humility, despite all his graciousness, despite all his strength, despite everything that he has done, that humility to call himself a Das, I think that's exemplary. Then 7th, of course, is the importance of self-discipline. And Guruji gave a lot of attention and importance to integrity and character. These were very important to Guruji. So, when they created the Panch Pyare and the Khalsa, they importantly also put out the Rat Maryada, and the Rat was very strong. Sorry, not Rat Maryada, but the Rat for the Khalsa, and the Rat was very strong. And the rat was an important point that Guruji emphasized on. In fact, Guruji famously spoke about how that rat is more important to them than anything else. And so there's a lot of emphasis, for instance, like on staying away from intoxicants, alcohol, drugs, tobacco. And you see today that these ills continue to plague society. But more than 300, 400 years ago, almost 400 years ago, it was already something that Guruji spoke about as an important point. Guruji also spoke a lot about infidelity, against infidelity, and the importance of staying true to the one person that you are married to, and to then as that's an exemplary point of your character. So he spoke a lot about that, and that if you lose that, then you lose your religion, you lose your dharam. So that is a very important point as well. Guruji showed intent, contentment and gratitude no matter the circumstances. And I think this is important because today's day and age, where we continue to face a lot of stress, a lot of pressures, and you see mental health being a very important point in today's society. People talk about it. It's important to draw a lesson from Guruji's life, because after being, after leaving Anandapur Sahib and going through that week of great sacrifice, during that week, Guruji was, had wounded feet and had walked barefooted and reached this place called Machivara in a jungle, in a forested area, where they slept throughout the night. And Guruji had not eaten for days, barely drank any water, had fought wars, and had barefooted feet with thorns and stones, wounding his feet, and slept on a bed of thorns that night, alone in the jungle. And this, we're talking about somebody who was, the king of kings. But despite that, Guruji didn't complain. Guruji felt contentment and gratitude, and then very famously also, said, "Mitar pyare, hal murida ka kehna," and spoke about, how it's Guruji was missing, the Almighty then. So even in that dire circumstances, they didn't lose their solidarity with God, and they didn't, they showed to all of us that no matter what stage or what aspect of your life you are in, that's important to keep the faith and not lose that, and that better days will come. 9th, I'd like to talk about compassionate leadership, and today people talk about this. It's become like a business school buzzword in Harvard Business School and whatever not. But centuries ago, Guru Gobind Singh Ji showed compassionate leadership, by demonstrating it in person, not just talking about it, but demonstrating it. And I'll give you an example. After leaving Anandapur Sahib, when they fought the war in Chamkaur with the Mughal forces, and mind you, there was about 40 Sikhs fighting against about 1 million Mughal forces. And during the night, when what Guruji did was incredible. So the night when the forces were resting, the Khalsa forces were resting, Guru Gobind Singh Ji went to each and every Khalsa soldier. They didn't sleep the night. He himself didn't sleep the night. He went to every Khalsa soldier, cleaned their wounds, made sure their hair was neat and tidy, cleaned their feet, and dressed them, did some dressing on their wounds, and took care of his and every soldier as if they were his son, and they were his sons. Guruji treated each and every Khalsa as his son or daughter. So that compassionate leadership is something that Guruji has taught us and demonstrated, centuries ago. Last but not least, no enmity. And this is something that when you do the Mool Mantra, we talk about Nirvair. Nirvair means no enemies. And Guruji showed there's no enmity with anyone. So, for instance, famously when one of the wars with the Mughal forces, one of the Sikhs, Parkash, went around feeding water, not just to the Khalsa forces, but also to the opponent Mughal forces as well. And when they came back, Guru Gobind Singh asked them what they were doing, and Parkash famously replied saying that they saw God in everyone. And then Guru Gobind Singh said, in that case, you should also bring along some marampatti, some medicines as well. So don't just feed them water, but also treat their wounds when you are feeding them water as well. And that was a kind of exemplary, compassion and respect Guruji showed to everyone, regardless of who you are, however you are. And it's a very famous example. So everybody knows that whatever atrocities Aurangzeb and the Mughal Empire committed on Guru Gobind Singh Ji and their family, right, including Guruji losing their 4 sons to the Mughal Empire's atrocities, right, including the youngest 2 sons, Chote Sahibzade, who were bricked alive in Sarhand. But years after that, after Aurangzeb passed on, Guru Gobind Singh Ji then fought for Bahadur Shah, Aurangzeb's eldest son, to ensure that Bahadur Shah would get the throne of Aurangzeb. Right, so there was a bit of a tussle between Bahadur Shah and some of the other, successors to the throne, and they were fighting. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji then helped Bahadur Shah as the rightful heir to the throne by making sure that they got the throne. And then Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, if your father was alive today, meaning Aurangzeb, he could see what I've done for his son and what he did to my sons, right? So that shows the lack of enmity that Guru Gobind Singh Ji had, even for someone who had done so much of atrocities on him and his family. There's, like I said earlier, there's a lot more to talk about, but in the interest of time and for this segment, I hope this 10 things I've highlighted, 10 lessons from Guruji's life, is something that your viewers will take away and take inspiration from, as we all do from Guru Gobind Singh Ji's life.